so lovely to see so many friendly faces, people who have come here year after year since the beginning. Willem, for example, yeah, he's a party hard guy. Be careful with him. Yeah, also quite many new faces. I don't know everybody, which is good, very good. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Ignacio Correas. I am the CEO and founder of Zentyal. So I'm the oldest person in this company. Not oldest in age, but oldest in experience in the company. And I want to share with you one of my hobbies, which is history. I love history. I like analyzing what happened somewhere in the past. I especially like those moments in history when one person or a group of people they changed the course of history just because they were brave, they were at the right moment, they could do the right thing, and they changed the way that everything was going. And I know quite a few examples. Well, you know, one of the most well-known is Churchill's bravery to defend democracy against Nazi Germany. And well, if you analyze history, you can see that that was not going to be the case for in many circumstances. So it was just one guy and a group of people surrounding him that actually managed to change history. And with that background, I can tell you, my friends, today we are fixing history. This is a historical day. This is a historical moment. I'm going to explain why. First, many of you, I can see many young faces. You don't remember the history of IT. But some of you, I can see some white hairs. Probably you do, and you will understand what I'm saying. Around 25 years ago, there was quite a lot of innovation with regards to IT. There was a lot of new technologies that were being tested, especially in networking, in the way you were managing users in a company, sharing files and all that. Many different protocols, many different technologies. All the time, there was on and on new things that were going on, and the market, the people were testing them. And at some moment, everything stopped. There was no innovation anymore. Everything just went to standstill. Just no more fun. Just the old boring stuff, always. Well, I don't like to blame Microsoft for everything, but this is the reason why it happened. So you all know that Microsoft, they started dominating the desktop. Well, they had a good product for the market, Windows Desktop, which was fun. But then they started to expand to the server side. So then they started to have the control on the server, the desktop, the protocols, everything that was around them, and they managed to have a control on everything, which is called a monopoly. That's why everything stopped, because everybody was talking Microsoft. Microsoft was very happy with that, and nobody could actually bring anything new. Sure, there was some innovation. Yeah, few changes, some improvements. The protocols were improving, the technology was improving, but it was nothing breaking new. Everything was in the same line, all the boring stuff, on and on, year after year. It's like the world had stopped in 1995. You know, just everybody, the whole technology just stopped in one moment, with continuous innovation, continuous improvement, but still the same technology that was in 1995. Free software failed to disrupt it. There were some small tries, but we talk a lot about free software, about all the innovation we can bring, about that opening the code and making the infinite possibilities of what we can do that can save the world. We can see that Linux actually is leading the pace in mobile phone and tablets with Android. It's fantastic. Linux has been on the supercomputers for quite a long time, and they have dominated already the computers and also the servers, most of the servers, and the technology that is behind them. That's open source. Open source is leading the way, has been leading the way of internet since the beginning. Google, Facebook, all these big giants, they wouldn't exist without open source. But free software still couldn't manage to break the monopoly of Microsoft and bring something new and get people back from the past, back from the 1995, and start innovating again. There's one project that is worth mentioning, which is Samba, the Samba project. in the version 3, Samba 3, it implemented the protocol shifts, which was for sharing files and basic user authentication, which was good. And at some point, it was actually pretty stable, pretty good shape, but it wasn't actually challenged. You know, it was good. It was installed in many servers, but it still was not the top of the technology. It still was not a challenge for the big players. That meant that still 2 billion people were left in the 90s. They were, well, the rest, most of them, they didn't have computers. So what we can say is that most of people with computers were left in the 90s. And do you remember the 90s? Can you imagine living in the 90s since the 90s? Well, for me, it was not a problem listening to Guns N' Roses. It was quite fun. At some point, well, you started to get bored of the same songs and versions of songs that you already knew. But there was one thing that actually bothered me a lot. It was Macarena. I couldn't stand it. Look, it was invoked when I was in Spain. I really got tired of that. Then I moved to France to study. Then it started to get invoked in France. I got really tired of that. And then I moved to Finland, and it started getting popular in Finland, and I got really tired. So please, no, from my point of view, I don't want to live in the 90s. I don't know your case, but you shouldn't like Macarena, so you shouldn't like the 90s. So that was from the networking stuff. Now let's talk about Exchange, Microsoft Exchange. That's a different story. You know, everybody knows what's Exchange, right? So this tool of Microsoft for email, contacts, calendar, all the groupware that Microsoft does. We have to say that Microsoft did a really good job with this. They were the only ones who actually got it. All the rest, not really, no. And the reason was that Microsoft implemented their own protocols. And in the protocols, they treated email, contacts, and calendar as one. And that's the thing, that's the secret. That's human compatibility. Why? Because, well, as you can see in the picture, that's the typical role of the traditional secretary. The secretary, the job of the secretary is to tell you who has called, when, and what he or she said. So that's the thing. If you try to implement a virtual secretary with internet protocols, you will never get it fine. You will never get it working correctly, because they're not treating these three pieces of information as one. So Microsoft got it. Microsoft did it right. Anyway, it still felt quite 90s. And you can see it in Outlook. This is a technology that has been there since the 90s. And there has been continuous improvement, continuous innovation, but nothing really breakthrough. So, big question. How do we get back on time, to our time, to the 2013, 2010s, and how can we start, getting the technology back to the moment where we're living? There was a time machine that is starting to be built by 3 different teams at almost the same time in 3 different areas, 3 different groups. The first one was the project Samba 4. That started in 2003. And the goal of Samba 4 was to implement an Active Directory natively. This was a huge thing. Active Directory is the main technology that Microsoft uses for networking, for user authentication, and it's very complex technology. So what they did was protocol analysis, and they tried to understand what was going on and then implement it. However, this, apart from being a very complex technology, the protocol was evolving, and the Samba team needed to do protocol analyzing again. So for every 2 steps forward, they had 1 step backward. And it was really, really complex and really slow progress. Okay. Another team that was building up was Open Change. That started 1 year later, in 2004. The development of Open Change was to build the protocols of Exchange in an open source solution. And it was a simpler problem to solve. Well, simpler somehow. It's still a complex thing to do. And the main problem was this was a one-man army only. Right, Julian? Yeah, that was back in 2004. Things have changed. But anyway, it was also the progress was slow, mostly because, well, you need to do a protocol analysis, and then you're only one person, mostly. But anyway, they actually, OpenChange and Samba 4, they found lots of synergies. I hate the word synergies, but I want to use it this time. And they actually said, hey, you are implementing an Active Directory on open source. I'm implementing Exchange on open source. You know, it makes a lot of sense to do it together. You know, Microsoft has this product integration, and the Exchange talks with Active Directory, and we need to work together. So still keeping two different projects, but with lots of interaction, lots of integration, which was a very clever move. However, everything changed in the year 2007. That was a turning point of everything. So there was, after that, things changed forever. The thing was that Microsoft was officially condemned for monopoly in 2007 by the two most powerful governments in the world, the US government and the European government. Actually, the European government was first. Yes, we did it first in Europe. And this was a big change, because it forced Microsoft to open its protocols. To be exact, it forced Microsoft to open only the Active Directory protocol, but well, for the price of one, Microsoft also opened the protocols on Exchange. So after some time trying to decide what it meant, well, both Samba teams and OpenChange teams, they decided that, okay, this is a great opportunity. We can, instead of doing protocol analysis, we can implement directly. We can read the documentation. We can just implement from the documentation, from the specs. And the whole thing accelerated a lot. And also, it's also meant that Microsoft changed their attitude. So by being condemned by being a monopolist, they say, hey, this can never happen again. We need to prove that we're not the monopolist, that there's somebody else here who can implement the same product. And they did change their attitude. Microsoft started collaborating with Samba 4 and with OpenChange projects. So things actually move forward much faster. In fact, in some features, in some implementations, we can say that nowadays, both Samba 4 and OpenChange, they're superior to Microsoft technology. And basically it's because, well, you have the protocols open, you can implement them, and you can think about how to implement them in a better way than what is done so far. However, the problem was that these were technologies. They were not products. So the difference is important. With the technology, you can implement the feature, you can have something that is working, but is not easy to implement, is not scalable, is not adopted for the mass market, is not adopted for many users. So you need to have a product if you want to scale, to have mass adoption, and even if you want to offer, you know, some kind of commercial support, commercial escalation. That's where the third team comes in. 2004, that's when Zentyal started. Zentyal, the project of Zentyal was started by some crazy people in the city of Zaragoza. And as you can see, it's the same year as OpenChange, just 1 year after Samba 4, so something was going on in the world. So many people working in somehow complementary things, but all in open source. The goal of Zentyal, as you know, is to turn open source IT infrastructure into product. It's not enough to have the technology. We need to have an easy-to-use technology that is easily integrated, that can be expanded quickly, that can be offered with a scalable support that is affordable, and so on, so on, so on. So, in Zentyal, one of the most important things was change management. You know, that users suffer the least pain as possible. Samba 4 was great. It was the fantastic thing that we needed. And even when it was still alpha, it was integrated in Zentyal, because that was, well, that's the way to go. For a company who wants to make a product, who wants to solve a pain of the users, we need to do that. And that led to OpenChange. We didn't know OpenChange before. But when we started integrating Samba 4, we actually started to collaborate with people, and we discovered OpenChange. It was a big surprise for us. And we were like, wow, is this possible? Is this actually possible to implement also Exchange? I mean, we knew about Active Directory. That was already sexy enough, but this is actually the jackpot. So we got in touch with the whole big team of OpenChange and tried to see how we could interact. And well, we decided from both parts that we needed to work together. That this actually is so cool. So we took Julian and we embraced him. He's so sweet. He's a really sweet guy. So you have Zentyal, Samba4, and OpenChange all now working together. And what you get is a product which is compatible with Active Directory and is compatible with Exchange. Think about it. A product, not a technology, but a product that is compatible with everything that Microsoft does in both network and groupware, natively. And what is best, this is open source. The competition is guaranteed. There's no more monopoly. Today, we are breaking this monopoly forever. There cannot be any more monopoly in either Active Directory or Exchange anymore. Think about it. If it's open source, well, today, we have already 2 players in this market, Microsoft and Zentyal. You can say this is not a monopoly, but this is an oligopoly. Yeah and no, because ours is open source. So if we misbehave, people, community, open source community have the power to fork it and start again. If we focus on just a tiny market, there's going to be need of a fork to fill that market up. So this is not a monopoly anymore. As long as there are going to be enough players, people are going to have the chance, the opportunity, the power to get a new player. So my friends, this is a historical day. We're breaking monopoly in 20, 30, 40 years. When you talk with your grandchildren and they ask you, hey, granddad, grandma, how was it when you were young? How was the IT revolution? How did it happen? I heard about some Microsoft thing, but it was in some hieroglyphics in ancient Egypt scriptures. And you can tell, yes, I was there. I was at Zaragoza when everything happened. You're laughing, but you are lucky guys. So we have the time machine ready. We can travel now back. We can leave the 90s behind us, and we can now travel and innovate and start going back to our new times. You know, this is 2013. In a few months, it will be 2014. So now the question is not anymore, do you like Macarena? But it's when do you want to travel? How much innovation do you want to implement? You know, this is open source, you can help. Of course, probably if we don't misbehave, we're going to be the ones leading this innovation. But as soon as we catch up with Microsoft, and we're very close to that, after that, there's going to be competition, there's going to be open source, there's going to be innovation, there's going to be back into our time. Okay, so this was my speech. If you have any questions, we have some time now. Yes, we have some time. You can ask questions. You can always talk to me in the coffee break or lunch or the cocktail. Whenever you want, I'm a very accessible person. So please, I'm available for you now in public, in private later, not too private. No questions? Everything was clear? Yes?
So why is it a historical moment? What are you launching? What are you doing different from before?
Oh, okay. So you didn't read the program. Yeah, that's usually what investors do.
I never do.
So you all know, except him, that today we are launching the first technology preview of OpenChange integrated in Zentyal, integrated as a product. So this is historical for many things. Today, there's a second player in the exchange market in the world. There's not anymore one single player. I will explain the business implications of this in a talk after coffee break. But basically, we're breaking this monopoly. We're offering a very compelling solution based on open source from a very friendly company that you all know. So monopoly is over. You have now the power of choice. And I don't want to spoil my talk afterwards, because then they won't come. They will go to Julian's talk. Yeah, well, you can also go to Julian's talk. More questions? Yes? Yeah.
So most of the time, customers, when we pitch Zentyal, they ask, "Hey, but we use Red Hat a lot. So why are your solutions? Why would it be better for me to use my Red Hat server?"
Mm-hmm.
Even if they do, even if they have walked away from Exchange and they're using a solution to their infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're for the guys, small medium businesses,
Mm-hmm.
and the small medium business guys don't really need that huge tech software and everything. So this is what we're walking in there with Zen. So when I walk in with Open Change, what is my message today?
Okay. One question. These people who actually like so much about Red Hat, I would assume that they are enterprise, not small and medium businesses. Small and medium businesses, they don't care whether it's Red Hat, Ubuntu, Microsoft, or whatever, right?
You'd be quite surprised that some of the guys, they like playing around.
Okay. Yep.
So you'd have a guy that's from a huge enterprise company, and then you walk into something smaller.
Yeah.
Say, hey, I was using that the other day. You can even say,
Mm-hmm.
so when we walk in, I'd like to have a talk.
Yep.
Say, hey, look, let's look this way.
Yeah. Okay, so there are many factors here that I will explain in my talk, but okay, I'm going to spoil some of them. So, first, Microsoft, if you're talking about to small and medium businesses, yes, let's focus on that. So small and medium businesses, as you know, last year Microsoft discontinued small business server. So that means that an SMB, they are forced either to move to the cloud or to pay 4 times more, because they need to pay the standard Windows server plus the standard Exchange license plus calls plus. Yeah. So they have to choose. Microsoft forces them to choose between either cloud or 4 times more expense. Well, now they have a third option, which is Zentyal, and they're not going to realize about, well, the users are not going to realize about any change, because it's going to be perfectly compatible. It is perfectly compatible with Outlook. So that's a sweet thing. So instead of paying 4 times more or going to the cloud, they can still have their own traditional server in-house. Exactly. That's the big thing. That's why we are so excited about OpenChange, because users have no pain in migrating, in upgrading. They just don't realize about it. And for the system administrator, it's just 3 clicks to move away from Exchange. It's all graphical. It's fantastic. Yeah, you have a demo site here to test the OpenChange development we have been doing, and you can ask all the staff about how it works. You can go to Julian's talk to see how it is implemented. We are going to be available here for you for any questions. But it's fantastic. It's magic. And our designer has done a fantastic job. Poppy, where are you? Yes, Poppy. He's the guy. He's the guy who made all the design, and this is really, really cool. Even I like it. Yeah. And after that, we can also go to the cost, because our costs are really much more reasonable. One of the things we have taken the conscious decision is not to charge per user. So, no calls. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
It's great. The prices, just one challenge that we're experiencing is that I spoke to a potential customer, and he says to me, "Okay, wow, Zentyal is very, very affordable.
Mhm.
Compared to, you asked the 3-year price, it's about, let's see, about 800 euros,
Mhm.
less than the
Yeah.
that he had, the exchange
Yes.
that he had. So his debate was, why I'm going to pay this again.
Mhm.
I'm going to renew this subscription. That's the kind of challenge that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you can actually turn the subscription. If they're not comfortable with a monthly or yearly paying, you can turn it into a 5-year payment. So it's similar to his license. And if they're comfortable with that, that's fine.
And open change will still stay.
Yeah. Well, Julian is here for the good. Right?
Hi. In the meantime, until Open Exchange is ready for productive use.
Open Change.
Open Change.
Open Exchange is a different product. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just habits.
Yeah.
What will happen to that other company that I haven't heard the name that's starting with the same letter as Zentyal?
Sarafa. Yeah.
So in the meantime, will it still be supported?
Yes, the module of Sarafa in Zentyal is still working. It's you can use it. Yeah, it's not a problem. We're going to continue supporting our customers and partners. That's priority number 1. Yeah.
Some exit date or exit strategy for that, or will it be continuous support?
We will continue the support as long as they are customers and partners. That's a guarantee.
I'm sorry if I don't speak in English, because I speak Spanish.
Go ahead.
Yo estoy formando a chavales con Zentyal, ¿no?
Mhm.
Entonces veo más o menos que vuestra charla se ha centrado en suplir al Active Directory de Microsoft, ¿no? y al Exchange. Entonces, mi pregunta es si ha cambiado vuestra filosofía hasta hacerse un sistema operativo multiservicio que tratáis de cubrir todo tipo de
Ujú.
servicios desde servicios HTTP.
Sí.
¿Se ha cambiado vuestra filosofía o seguís apostando igualmente por ser un sistema operativo multiservicio tratando de facilitar?
Sí. ¿Te importa? ¿Respondo en inglés? ¿Lo puedes seguir?
Sí.
Sí. ¿Puedes seguirlo si respondo en inglés? Vale, perfecto. So the question was, now that we're focusing so much in Active Directory and Exchange replacement, native replacement, are we going to change completely our philosophy of trying to bundle together all different modules and make life easier for system administrators? Yes and no. So from the technical point of view, you still have all these modules integrated, and it's fantastic. It's a fantastic tool. So you can still use them. You can still install Zentyal as a UTM. You can install Zentyal as an infrastructure server without the need of installing Samba, without the need of installing OpenChange. That is not going to change. However, the way we explain what is Zentyal, that is going to change. So instead of saying, yes, we offer you 40 modules you choose, it's going to be like, we offer you a native replacement of Exchange with an Active Directory replacement and with a bunch of modules that will support that. So you can still use it as a UTM if you want. That is not going to change at all. There are only 4 modules that we have dropped because they didn't make any sense anymore. Voice over IP, PPTP, and a couple more. They were not important. They were not being used actually from the community, and it didn't make sense to maintain them. But that was a different decision. We are not going to change the modules that we integrate. We're not going to change that philosophy. It's just the positioning and the way we explain it. You know, last week I actually had the proof that this is the right thing to do. I have several friends from absolutely no IT background. One of them is marketing, the other comes from arts. And I've been for many years I've tried to explain them what we do. They didn't get it. They said, yes, you do something with software or IT, computers. And when I told them, hey, we're going to launch something really exciting. Tell me, what it is? Is it something I'm going to understand? Well, do you know Exchange? They said, yes. What? Do you know Exchange? You know Microsoft Exchange? Yeah, this is the thing that is behind Outlook, right? Yes. And they got it. They understood me. My next step is to convince my mom and to explain her so that she understands what we do. But that'll be for another week. But so far, I'm really, really glad that I managed to make these friends to understand what we do. Yeah, last question before we leave the space for the next. No, everything clear? Alles klar? Ah.
A bigger challenge in convincing you not to be convincing the UK charities, or with the charities, and because of licensing with charity and educational establishments, the cost difference between Zentyal and Exchange is very, very similar.
That's false. Completely false. Yes, the cost of Zentyal is 0. You always have the community edition. That's the comparison with the license of Microsoft. So we win always in that comparison. However, if you want to be supported, if you want to have all these extra services, we do have educational and NGOs pricing, which is much lower than for typical customers. Great. Okay, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you these days.